Good morning. Not working. Good morning. Yes. Good morning. Please have your seats. We are going to start in a few seconds. Thank you.
Sabah el khair wa marhaba. That's the end of my Egyptian, you'll be glad to hear. Good morning, and how good to see you all here at such an important conference. For what it's worth, I'm Fiona MacDonald. I've worked for more years than I care to remember at the BBC World Service as a radio journalist. So this is absolutely terrifying, being in front of people. I can speak to millions every day of my life, but to be with you here, it's great. So this is the 5th COP to be held in Africa. It's been held in Kenya, South Africa, and twice in Morocco. To bring together delegates, government ministers, volunteers, and local staff in the one place is a sign of your commitment to a joint focus. Although I will introduce all of today's speakers individually at the appropriate time, we're joined for this morning's session by two people whose names you will already be familiar with, because you'll have dealt with them recently, and that they represent the host country and the government of Egypt. And that's Dr. Reem Abdelmajid and Dr. Ahmed Sada. A warm welcome to you both, as you heard. You will hear more speakers from the Egyptian government, see the official video for the COP27 presidency and the climate change policy team. You'll also be personally welcomed by the Chief Executive Officer of the Egyptian Environmental Affairs Agency, as well as the Executive Secretary for the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or UNFCCC, as well as others, all at the cutting edge of climate negotiations for the weeks ahead. Those speakers, all of them, show the importance that your presence here commands. So what's the purpose of this COP27? Well, and what is it that's hoped to be achieved at its most basic level, because that's about as far as I can go. We'll leave the important details to these experts. This conference will focus on three main areas: reducing emissions, helping countries to prepare and funding for developing countries for these activities. And some areas that were not fully resolved or covered last year at COP26 in Glasgow will also be picked up, such as loss and damage finance, or in other words, the money to help countries recover from the effects of climate change rather than just prepare for it. We've already seen the appalling devastation caused by flooding in Pakistan this year. And we need to focus on the establishment of a global carbon market to price the effects of emissions into products and services worldwide. Just a few days ago, a United Nations study said that only an urgent transformation of society would avoid climate disaster. So COP27 is so important. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said in New York just last week, and these were his words, "There has been a tendency to put climate change on the back burner, and if we are not able to reverse the present trend, we will be doomed." So, he's not mincing his words. Africa is one of the most vulnerable regions in the world to a changing climate. Currently, 17 million people are estimated to be facing food insecurity in East Africa because of drought. And the problem appears to be that global problems such as inflation, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the high prices of energy and food, not to mention the global pandemic, are distracting governments. We must bring climate change to the very core of the international debate. We need to tell the truth. So, those involved in COP, this as well as past ones, recognise that the engagement of you, the local support staff and volunteers in the conferences provide a unique opportunity to gain practical insights into how the United Nations system works, how international climate change negotiations and large-scale conference management is conducted. By employing local support staff and mobilising volunteers from all walks of life and from many different countries, this can only impact positively on future generations in Egypt and beyond. So I remember speaking to two of the staff and volunteers from last year's COP26 in Glasgow in Scotland, which is where I'm from, in case you didn't realise. Well, one of them had a very strong Scottish accent, which he was convinced would cause problems for all the delegates. He was worried that they just would not understand what he was saying. And the delegate, of course, asked him for directions. Rather than confuse the man with his accent, he said he would take him to where he needed to go. On their way, they got talking about football, and suddenly they had it. Communication. Both of them understood the other. Well, I'm not saying that Mo Salah is who you need here. Of course, it might be rather nice if he were sitting just along the table from us, but he's not, sadly. But you never know when your knowledge of Mo Salah will bring others to you, because everybody knows him. Well, most people do. Enough from me. Dr. Reem, can I bring you in here? You've been involved with this particular selection process, well, for a long while now, and helping to train the volunteers. Can you tell me what the process has been like?
First of all, good morning, friends. It's really a pleasure to be among you all today. Looking around the room, I have to say that I am utterly proud that all of us had made it so far together. We started off as strangers, Fiona, and we are all now here making a one exceptional COP27 team. I was, 4 months ago, I was appointed by the Ministry of Environment to undergo a selection process of almost 263 positions for the local support staff. This was a heavy assignment because I had to do it in a very transparent and a very inclusive way. And to do that, I had to go through hundreds of CVs. In going through your CVs, I was really interested in the person, in the human being behind the numbers that you've written in your resumes and behind the carefully curated CVs. So we have undergone a very meticulous selection process. We have implemented personality profiling. We have implemented psychiatric assessments. And we implemented some tests for measuring your stress resilience and your tolerance for diversity. So this was the selection process.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reem. Thank you, and I know that Dr. Sada, Dr. Ahmed, you have plenty to say on the selection process too.
Thank you so much, Fiona. I would like to start my words by asking you first to congratulate yourself for being here. So for you. Indeed, the process of bringing the best of the volunteers here to this room took us months of preparation, selection, and I'm sure that each one of you has a story to tell for the upcoming many years. Since the beginning of the process of agreement on bringing volunteers and local staff to the COP27, we all acknowledge how the process went into a very coordinated, organized process between the UNFCCC, the government of Egypt, and partner organizations. So I would like to thank the UNFCCC Secretariat, all the team for their support, for their dedication, and also for the coordination of making this reality. Second, I would like to acknowledge also the patience of all volunteers who managed to reach this point, because the process was a thorough process. It went through several steps, starting from the application, the online test, the online interview, the physical interview, the boot camp, the final selection, and coming here. So, it's not only bringing Egyptians to be volunteers. For the first time, African and international volunteers are here with us. Migrants and refugees are here with us. This is the biggest investment ever made in human capital in all COP sessions, I believe. This reflects the political will of the Egyptian government. This reflects the full coordination from the Secretariat, and this reflects how future generations and youth and volunteers are the best and the future of this country. So just to be brief on what we are going to have during this COP, we will have volunteers engaging in supporting logistical arrangement. We will have volunteers attending sessions in their spare time. They will learn a lot, and they will be the legacy left in this country after the COP27. So it is actually a message for the whole world that Egypt in this COP is making huge investment in the human capital and depending on its volunteers to make sure that those actions intended to be after this COP is carried with great minds, calibers from everywhere, and they know how to make it. So I'm sure that the COP results are going to be left in safe hands with the volunteers here, because they are not just volunteers coming to attend and to support logistically. Each one of them has a passion and a dream to be a climate change, positive change maker who would like to add a lot to the agenda of the climate change They are not just coming here just to be supporting logistically, but also to have a say and a role in the upcoming future regarding making or achieving the climate change agenda here in Egypt and in their home back countries. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the actual phrase that came out loud and clear there was spare time. I'm not quite sure where you're actually going to find that, but no, you heard there from both Dr. Reem and Dr. Ahmed that climate change is not only a challenge to governments, the support and contribution of all parties, governmental and non-governmental, are crucial to achieving the desired success here at Sharm el-Sheikh. New targets for reducing emissions, cutting back on fossil fuels and ending deforestation were all agreed by world leaders last year at COP26. And one thing I have to share with you, because it just came up at about 2 o'clock this morning, was the whole problem with deforestation. Now, we know that deforestation is a big problem. And in Brazil, particularly, under President Jair Bolsonaro, 69% of the Amazon rainforest, that's how much has come down in his time. And last night, at a nail-biting election, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the former president, he won and beat him by just a tiny margin. And his commitment is to get down to 0 trees coming down in the Amazon rainforest. So you see, it's a good thing. This is a good thing. And I just wanted to share it with you in case nobody else was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like me. Anyway, we're going to move it on now. We're going to have the official video from the COP27 presidency and the climate change policy team. Thank you. Well, to welcome you all now officially, and more officially than I certainly could, we're joined now by the Chief Executive Officer of the Egyptian Environmental Affairs Agency, Dr. Ali Alo Sena.
صباح الخير. Good morning, everybody. Excellencies, friends, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be with you today with this very, very important opening ceremony for our local staff. It's really indeed a lot of work have been done to gather all you here today. It's really impressive. It is very delighting us to gather more than 1,000 local support will be the future ambassadors to us for climate action to our lovely Egypt. So, at the beginning, I would like to convey the best regards of Her Excellency Dr. Yasmin Fouad, wishing you all a good representation, wishing you all doing your best to support Egypt and the world for very successful conference we are hosting. We are hosting this conference on behalf of Africa, on behalf of the world. Would like to come for a real roadmap for implementation for climate action. As the host country for the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27, all eyes will be geared towards our country, Egypt, and how it will lead by example. We are all here because we share the same vision and commitment to make a difference in the world. As we were listening now, we have a lot of changes worldwide. We are now in a time to have a proper action to combat the climate change. So I'm happy to be with you all from Egypt, from other countries, to really gear together the will for climate action. This conference will never come to life without you. Without you, your energy, your ambitious to work with us. You are as the youth and supporter for this climate action is indeed a crucial. We acknowledge your profound contribution and participation in this milestone moment for the planet, taking much time from you, your patience to be with us, to learn and also to execute what you have been learning. So we will be very happy to have you during the whole conference. Let us seize this opportunity to connect, engage, and amplify our efforts for an effective climate action. As I mentioned before, you are our future ambassadors for climate action to our great Egypt. So let us do it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ali Abo Sena. Now, I wanted to ask you just before you go, you announced a strategy a few weeks ago to address the negative impacts of climate change effectively and also to back Egypt's pioneering role in climate change internationally. What are your plans for that?
It's a really very good question, and I'm happy to tell about this success story that Egypt made. We announced our national strategy for climate change in May 2022. I would say that this strategy has been formulated based on a very strong consultative process. We didn't ignore anybody from this consultation process, from academia, NGOs, government, private sector. So it was really a very constructive discussion to come with a vision for Egypt for 2025 2050. So this strategy have been translated to more than 127 projects. So can you imagine, with more than $380 billion in climate projects, adaptation and mitigation. So what does it mean? It means that Egypt has a very clear vision for 2050, what we will do. We have projects that we indeed, we formalized it in more conceptual projects with budgets, with actions. So we know exactly what we really need over the coming 30 years or 20 years for actions at the ground. So I'm happy to tell this story that will be also energizing other countries to know how to learn about what we have been done. Moreover, we extracted from this strategy our NDCs, which we already announced in July 2022. What does it mean, NDCs? It's a commitment from the Egyptian government. By 2030, how much reduction in CO2 will do in a very specific sectors. We identified 3 main sectors as a target for us. Transportation and energy is the main 2 sectors that, and electricity, of course. These are the main 3 sectors that we have put. For example, in the sector of electricity, we're targeting more than 30% reduction of CO2 by moving to renewable energy for green hydrogen technologies. But also I would like to share with you that we already concluded with 6 priority programs for Egypt over the coming 20 years. 1 related to using solar energy for desalination of water. It's a high priority for us as we are really facing poverty in the terms of water. Also energy transition program, agriculture programs that we would like to move toward this, moving a new seeds that can really adapt with the climate actions, our climate impact. So this is something that to show that also we know what is our priority for the future, that we can really seek and work together. And this, Egypt is showing by example what we did on a policy level, and even in implementation level. Several projects have been done from our general budget over the last years. We were not naming it as a climate action projects, but it is indeed climate action projects, like the monorail, like what you say, the Binban projects, the largest solar energy projects in the Middle East. So this means that we moved from institutional to policy to actions, and we hope that during this conference we share with all of you, with all the member states, our experience at the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, I'd like to bring in now Mr. Simon Steele, the Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC. Mr. Steele was previously Minister for Climate Resilience and the Environment in his home nation, Grenada, a Caribbean island nation. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Fiona. I know it's been a journey for all of you getting here today, but your real journey is just about to begin, and I'm really delighted, really proud to be here with all of you, and I'm amazed to see how many of you are here in front of us this morning, and this is only a fraction of the volunteers who are supporting us in COP27. So I want to start. That's good, my friend, that's good. I want to start by thanking you for giving your time and energy to support COP27. You bring a diversity of experience from all over Egypt, across Africa, and beyond. You're professionals, students, experts, parents. You come from the countryside, from large cities. Some of you have decades of life experience. Many of you are just starting out. What you all have in common is that you care deeply for the future of our planet. You're eager to make COP27 a success. You embody the spirit of collaboration that guides our work. Soon these halls will have tens of thousands of people, delegates, world leaders, media, scientists, observers, and more running through them, trying to make the impossible happen. I've been a minister for many years, and I've been in this process for a number of years, and I can tell you hand on heart that the organization of conferences can absolutely make them succeed or fail. It's the difference between whether crucial conversations happen or don't happen. You will be responsible for helping me help the Egyptian COP presidency make COP27 a success. I need you to be on top of your game, and trust me, the world needs you to be on top of your game. Everyone is here for one purpose. COP27 is the moment where global leaders get moving on the massive transformation that must take place throughout all sectors of society to address the climate emergency. It's time to move from talk to action, to get promises off the page and into action. That's what the era of implementation is all about. It's about action. COP27 must demonstrate progress in 4 key areas: mitigation, adaptation, finance, and support. But COP27 is much more than that. The Egyptian presidency has set out an ambitious vision for this COP that puts human needs at the heart of our global effort to address climate change. They will focus the world's attention on 4 key elements that address some of the most fundamental needs of people everywhere, including water security, food security, health, and energy security. Each of these needs is threatened by the escalating climate crisis, and each needs to be strengthened by more ambitious climate action. Together, action inside the formal process and action outside the process will come together and strengthen the outcome of COP27 and keep momentum going forward. Climate action is more than one COP, one date on the calendar. To achieve climate action at the scope and scale we need, the first transformation needs to be our mindset. We need to put climate action at the heart of every national strategy, at the center of every boardroom strategy, and in the homes of all people. That's the change in mindset we need. That's what implementation is about. And that's what we're here to achieve. We must. We have 8 years before 2030. This must be a decisive decade for climate action, or it's going to be too late. I have been in your shoes before, I volunteered many times to the anti-apartheid movement, something which, when I started, was said to be a near impossible task. Now look at where we are today. Success is a collective effort. Your logistical and operational support is critical to a successful outcome. You'll hear the word cooperation frequently in the next 2 weeks. I expect it from all of you as well. Be powerful examples of those who will be walking these halls. Be patient, be supportive, be optimistic. What you learn here, take home. Share your knowledge in your communities. Raise awareness. Encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to get involved in local climate action. Think about it. You're their direct link to a process that is all about solving the greatest challenge of this generation. And each and every one of you is part of that. In the coming weeks, you will need stamina, patience, and a sense of humor. Me too. But throughout, take pride knowing that you are making a valuable contribution to building a greener, better future for us all. Have an incredible experience, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Simon Steele. We all know who he is now. That was a very inspiring speech. Well, time now to call on Mr. Daniele Violetti, who is the Senior Director of Programmes Coordination. And Mr. Violetti, well, he'll tell you himself, but he's going to tell us about the United Nations climate change policy-making process. What does this mean at COP27 for us? In other words, I think I'm going to have to ask you to do it in layman's terms.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you for the introduction. After the words of our Executive Secretary, I will try to get a bit more into the framing of the expectation for this COP and what we are facing. Before doing that, I really want also, on my side, thank you all for your engagement and commitment in this conference. I think it's really great to have so many of you here and beyond this room helping the process, because this is really part of the process, making sure that everything runs smoothly and everybody who is coming here, both for negotiation but also for climate action, has the possibility of working well and in an environment that is conducive to a good outcome. So where we are now is picking up on where we left in Glasgow a year ago, where a very important milestone in our process was achieved, which was the agreement of all parties on the Paris Agreement rulebook. And that was a process that started, of course, back in Paris, and it took a few years to agree on everything that was needed to make sure that the implementation of the Paris Agreement can take place with all the policy framework agreed. Now, this happened in Glasgow, and what we are facing now here in Sharm el-Sheikh at the COP27, it's really to move from that stage of uncertainty in a certain point now to real implementation. That's why this COP is perceived by most as the implementation COP. What does it mean? We have to demonstrate that we are on track in making the right steps towards implementing the provision of the Paris Agreement, and in doing so also allowing the ambition that is needed to keep us on the goals, towards the goals of the Paris Agreement. So we need to demonstrate an implementation momentum, and the outcome we do hope, and we are quite sure we will achieve at the end, is an implementation-related package. What does it mean, this? There are different streams of work at the COP. There is the stream of the process and the negotiations. This will result in a large number of decisions taken by the main bodies, the COP, the CMA, and the CMP. I know this word is plenty of acronym of all sorts. It's not easy to catch them all, but these are the three main bodies we will be working with. So there will be a number of decisions there. Then there will be overarching decisions, the so-called core decision, which are the political messages coming out of this conference. And there will be, for example, decision 1 CP27, so the decision number 1 of Sharm el-Sheikh for each of the body. And then there will be a lot of action-related activities, looking at the global climate action, looking at all the commitments, looking at all initiatives, looking at all the what is taken care by, let's say, not government action, private sector, cities, subnationals, civil society, all these that contribute to the momentum of the COP and give us the sense that we are on track towards the goal of the Paris Agreement. I don't know how detailed I should go in this, but I want to repeat what are the key topics that will be discussed and negotiated upon. First of all, mitigation. So mitigation in terms of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, in terms of action activities through the commitments from governments in their nationally determined contributions. And a very important outcome of this COP will be the so-called mitigation work program, which has to be agreed at this COP in Sharm. There will be a lot of negotiation around mitigation, adaptation then, loss and damage, finance, and there will be an important milestone here on the global stocktake. So briefly upon all of them, and then I'll stop because I understand we have time pressure as well. So adaptation, important work, priorities for really everybody in the world, how to adapt to the current, already when stated the effects of climate change, and what we can do in terms of the process to support this. And there will be negotiation on several issues relating to that, including advancing the discussion on the global goal for adaptation. On finance, finance is probably the critical aspect of supporting implementation. It's the pillar of means of implementation. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult global time, many crises around the world, and therefore it's difficult to imagine the availability of many new financial resources, but still there are important signals that they can come out of Sharm in terms of finance being available and made available in the future to support action and the developing country in particular. Then the part relating to loss and damage, again here there is a link to finance and defining what we need to advance this issue. And lastly, the negotiation space, the global stocktake, which will be finished by next year at COP28, but also showing progress, it's important here. Last words on the global climate action. There will be so many activities going on, so many events, not only negotiation. There will be pavilions, events, there will be side events, there will be roundtables, discussion. All these are demonstrating that action is happening, action is possible, and can be replicated elsewhere. So what is needed is really to take good stock of the lessons that we learn and make them available to others. I think I can stop here in the sense that, finishing by saying that this is a very, very important COP. It is expected to deliver, really to keep the process on track and moving ahead towards our common goals for the future of humanity. So if there was any doubt about the importance of your work, about for you being here, a part of this, I think this is very clear. We are really all together in this, and we have to make it work and have a success here in Sharm. Thank you very much.
May I just ask you there, you discussed, well, two things. First of all was the finance. Do you think that that's going to be doable? I mean, it seems to be at the core of almost everything, doesn't it?
You are perfectly right. I mean, every issue that I mentioned has somehow linkages to finance. I think what is important, and that's why I said these are difficult times, right? It's difficult to imagine suddenly a lot of new money coming on the table, but already signals on delivering on existing commitments, showing that action is happening in the sense of reforms, of policy guidance given, financial institutions, development banks being engaged and changing their portfolio, having more access to finance for developing countries. So these are very important signals that will, determine the success in terms of finance at this COP.
So you feel optimistic?
Yes, I do, yeah. It's doable, it's doable.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Reem, can I bring you in here? What is your take on all of what Mr. Violetti was saying, particularly when he was talking about finance et al.? What do you think? Do you feel optimistic?
Fiona, we can't help but be optimistic to be able to get back on track. So I believe that negotiations this year for finance and for financial commitments will be fierce. I'm hopeful, and I'm deep down in my heart, I believe that.
Well, that's good. And can I also ask you that, Dr. Ahmed? What are your thoughts?
Indeed, we have. I can see this from a perspective, maybe also echoing what I was mentioning at the beginning, seeing it from the perspective of youth and volunteers. The potential of making action and making things reality for me is like simplifying big actions. So the lagging in achieving results in any international agenda is depending always on how to simplify things into actionable small things that can be delivered at the local level of communities. Making sure on that localizing climate action agenda and finding the ambassadors or the leaders or the changing agents at the very local and very community grassroots level is really crucial in simplifying the climate action agenda in a way that can be carried forward. And finally, the civil society and volunteers are the leverage of all what we are doing here. So regardless to how far we go with our negotiations and success, but making those actions and agreements in reality depends mostly on communities. So we depend on volunteers and making sure that what we have here is something that can be transferable, and most importantly, to transfer the ownership of those files.
Yes, we discussed at the weekend that you saw the very small steps as being absolutely crucial.
Yes.
To bringing it, to widening it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you, Dr.
Thank you so
Ahmed.
much.
Thank you. Well, we're now going to look at how citizens' engagement, on a rather good note there, in global climate action can take things forward. And we're joined by Mr. Alexander Sair. Good morning. His role at the UNFCCC is Public Information Officer, along with communications and engagement. What does that mean for you here at COP?
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to see you all here, because I've seen the film and I was quite impressed and touched by your commitment and the time you are dedicating to all of this. Thanks for the introduction. I'm working in a team that is dealing with what we call engagement. It's engagement with the civil society. That's one area. Civil society, we mean all the sectors, industry, you have cities, so all the different elements where climate change and policy will be actually implemented. And that makes it so exciting. So you heard a lot already by my colleagues, Daniele, by also the Executive Secretary, about the policies from and by governments. What we are working on is the implementation of this framework into action. So there is an international framework called UNFCCC, very difficult, long acronym. But what it does actually, it provides a global framework, and under this framework, there is an implementation. And this goes down to all of us in the end. Simon Steele said it in his speech earlier, it's us, it's all of us who will make the difference in the end. So this part of the conference is a very important one. We will have over 10,000 participants from the civil society coming here to Sharm el-Sheikh, sharing experience, sharing knowledge, looking at best practices in all these different areas. Youth is a topic, gender is a topic. We have so many areas where climate change has an impact and where climate action will make the change to transform us into the right direction. My second role here is I'm speaking about media and communications. So I'm in charge of the media, and I can tell you for the next 3 weeks, the eyes of the world will be on Sharm el-Sheikh, will be on this conference. We are expecting 120 leaders coming at the beginning of the conference, and we will have over 3,000 international journalists traveling to Sharm el-Sheikh, reporting about the conference, reporting about what is happening, and helping us to translate this difficult subject matter, the difficulties of the negotiations, into a plain language that everyone can understand. When you are, some of you will be in the negotiations, and when you will listen to the texts, it will be quite challenging for you to understand what it is all about. It's a world of acronyms. It's a world of very technical language. From the communication side, we are trying to help demystifying all of these difficult and technical languages. So that's another task and role we have. But when you look at this conference from a media perspective, and I know Egypt is famous for TV series, for soap, and in a way I think you could say that what is happening here in Sharm in 2 weeks' time is a bit like a TV series, maybe a soap to a certain extent. So there will be drama, I can tell you. There will be fights on the podium. There will be suspense till the very end, so there's a thriller element. Some moments, and Simon also mentioned, there will be humor, and keep your humor, whatever the situation will be difficult. So there will be an element of comedy as well, and you will hear that. Fine comedy sometimes maybe a bit more blunt. So all of this in the end will be a 2 weeks show, so to speak. It's a big show, a lot of attendance. Millions of people will watch it from far. So keep that in mind. You are, I think in a way you're very lucky to attend this 2 weeks conference, and you will have an experience that will be sometimes hard, sometimes fun, but in the end, we are all working together on this larger picture to help making this world a better place. Thank you.
Can I just ask you there, you know, you talked there about the media, and of course, I know nothing about that, but how does social media affect what's going on at COP?
Well, thanks for the question. It's a very important element, and you all know. I think most of you have your mobile phones in your hands at the moment, and I don't know, maybe some of you are streaming live on Insta or whatever you are doing there. Of course, it has a huge impact. It has also a huge impact on the negotiations. So the work of the media and social media always think that it is used strategically. So whatever you read, whatever you hear, depends who was coming up with who was providing the information, but there's a purpose behind all of this. And this is, with social media, is very important because it allows also people who are not on site, people who are somewhere in your country, in Egypt, around the globe, to participate. So social media allows an interactive dialogue, which we are all facilitating. So we have many channels. You will see we are on Twitter, Insta, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on TikTok since last year. So check it out, it's important, and this is also a bit the playful fun part. Participate when you have time. Share it with friends and family. Use your social media accounts to report from here. So make yourself a reporter, make yourself an influencer. That would be great.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Well, I'd now like to welcome to the podium Mr. Ovais Armad, the Deputy Executive Secretary for UN Climate Change. Now, this is a position you've held for about 5 years, I think, haven't you? So you're no stranger to this.
Thank you very much, Fiona, and a very warm welcome. Good morning, salam alaikum. Best wishes to all of you, and welcome. I say this from the bottom of my heart because what you represent are volunteers, and that's very important in the sense that you're volunteering for being here and taking this interesting and important role voluntarily. No one has forced you to do that. It's not a job. So what I'd like to briefly share with you is what that means. I'm sure you probably already know. This is about addressing one of the most important issues that humanity is facing, that is climate change. And as we speak, there are many catastrophes around the world which is affecting many people in almost all parts of the world, especially those who are vulnerable, who are in desperate situations, and because of the impacts of climate change, the landslides, the drought, the typhoons, the rising sea levels, all of that is resulting in loss of lives and livelihoods. So this conference is about that. It's not about a lot of paperwork and the jargon that you hear. It's about the lives of people around the world. And we have an opportunity during these 2 weeks to make a difference, a positive difference, to stop global warming. Now, stopping global warming comes from centuries-old science, which clearly tells us that we have to respect the environment in which we are living, the resources that we are using, and the carbon emissions, unfortunately, that we are emitting into the atmosphere. So in 2015, all the governments around the world, they came together and adopted the Paris Agreement. Now, you should know about the Paris Agreement, I'm sure you do. Now, what Paris Agreement requires, the world leaders, all of us, individually also, that we try and do everything we can to limit the global warming to 2 degrees, or preferably 1.5 degrees. Now, let me put that into context. 1.5 degrees global warming since the Industrial Revolution. We are already between 1.1 and 1.2 global warming, and you see the impacts of what's happening. So every fraction of a fraction, not degree, of global warming results in loss of lives and livelihoods. And this conference is about stopping that, helping those who are suffering. So your volunteerism is very important, and I'm very glad, grateful that you all are here representing many countries and many societies. So you have an important role. You will probably be the first ones to meet many of the delegations, 30, 40,000 delegations who will arrive to Egypt and to Sharm el-Sheikh. And most likely probably the last ones to greet them goodbye when they leave. So you will become the face of the conference. You will become the face of this issue that we are dealing with and trying to address it. And hopefully we will get to some very strong decisions during those 2 weeks that the stakeholders, private sector, companies, civil societies, and all of us individually, we will take to stop that global warming. So that's what it is about, dear colleagues, and I very much hope that you will use this experience. And you also, because all of you are young and out in the societies, you also individually are also influencers, so that whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you experience during those 2 weeks, please do share that in your networks, in your platforms, to convey the word, because that is also extremely important. In addition to doing all the political work that will happen here, that you convey that importance of why this conference is happening and what we are here to do, and you are part of that. So you're part of this conference. Don't consider yourself just a volunteer or just an individual. No, you're part and parcel of this whole conference, addressing what we are trying to do. So with that, I wish you all the very best. Take full advantage of the experience and share that experience. And towards the end, also do let us know what you found good, what didn't work, and if there are any areas that you wish the United Nations Secretariat on Climate Change to improve on. We would very much value your feedback. Thank you very much.
Mr. Owais Sarmad, thank you very much indeed. I just want to ask, I was speaking to Dr. Reem earlier on, and it interested me. I don't think you've been in your post that long, have you?
Pardon?
You haven't been in your post
No,
that
only
long.
4 months now.
4 months.
Yes.
Now, you were telling me how you got here, and I found it an incredibly moving story, and it sort of echoes everything that people have been saying today, from Dr. Ahmed, his small steps, and then talking about how we can bring ourselves to somewhere completely different. And Dr. Reem, your story touched me. Would you like to tell it? How did you get here?
Sure. 5 months ago, I lost my husband. I was a caregiver for him for 12 years of my life. He had serious complications of diabetes, so he was blind, completely blind, and I was his eyes at home and at work. And then suddenly I lost him. It's really very hard when you are a caregiver and you're a helper, and then suddenly there is no role for you in life. And then I was appointed by the Ministry of Environment to do the assessments and the training for the volunteers. And suddenly, guys, I had hope again. I used to wait for our assessment sessions online. Although it was virtual, it was not physical, but I loved the bond and the connection that I maintained with you. And I loved being helpful and supportive for someone again. I missed that feeling. I appreciate you so much when you called me to pick up on many of my advices, my life advices, or mentoring you for any work issues that you are going through. As much as I helped you, you helped me to get out of a very challenging phase in my life. And for that, I'm really thankful for you and thankful for the Ministry of Environment for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Reem. Thank you. Dr. Ahmed, I'm now going to come back to you because you were telling me some of the stories that some of these volunteers, well, what they've given up just to be here.
Yes, indeed. I was really impressed by the level of commitment and persistence, not only for them to be able to come here, they planned ahead for months to be here. Some of them had a leave from their university, from their work. They traveled from their country. They are from the Egyptian diaspora outside. They are from international volunteers coming from their home countries, from Africa. And some of them have also lots of commitment. They took extensive arrangements to be here with us. So staying from the 25th until the 20th was something that we all agreed that it is something that it is required for us to be here with. And in order to make sure that they are here, they sacrificed a lot of things. So their sacrifices for us are highly valuable, and we are sure that their impact with us is also going to be very strong. So for those who had a lot of things to sacrifice to be here, I think you are going to be paid off, not only because you are going to learn a lot, but you are going to make sure that this conference is going to be very successful. You are going to support the agenda. It's not only the Egyptian agenda, it is the international agenda of the climate change. So we are now a supporter for something that can live for years, and you will remember it for your life, that you are a part of something that we can remember, that the COP of Sharm el-Sheikh was a real COP for implementation, and we had a real successful actions that was taken here, and those actions, you are part of it. So, congratulations.
Yes, I like that. You're allowed to give yourselves a round of applause. That is good. Well, I'd like now to bring in, well, this is a man who's going to brief you on security and safety matters. Mr. Kevin O'Hanlon, he's the COP27 Event Security Coordinator. And this is a position he's very familiar with, having been dealing with safety and security issues with the UN, well, for probably more years than you care to remember. Would that be right, Kevin? Yes. Well, this is a huge remit, isn't it? Could you tell us about it?
Yeah, thank you, Fiona. So just to introduce myself, my name is Kevin O'Hanlon, and I work with United Nations Department of Safety and Security in the United Nations headquarters in New York. So, and I am the Chief of Security, the Chief of Safety and Security for the conference. Were many of you, or have any of you visited New York City? Okay. Any of you visit the United Nations in New York City? Okay, for those of you who haven't, the United Nations in New York City, it takes up 6 New York City blocks. So it's a huge premises. And New York Police Department have no jurisdiction in there. We have a security and safety service, a United Nations security and safety service with about 400 security officers, and it's like a big embassy in there, and we run the whole security and safety operations, receiving every day heads of state, heads of government, running the Security Council every day, the General Assembly. And if you can imagine what we're trying to achieve here, is we're trying to, those 6 New York City blocks, we're lifting up, we're transporting, and we're putting it on the ground here in Sharm el-Sheikh. And that's what you have, that's the environment you're going to be working inside. So the United Nations Security and Safety Service, the team that I lead, will be responsible for all of the security inside the fence line, what is called the blue zone. So that everybody coming to the conference here, when they walk inside that fence line, they should experience what it feels when you walk inside United Nations headquarters in New York. That's my job, to make that happen, to make this place look and feel like you are in the United Nations headquarters in New York. To do that, I've brought with me more than 100 United Nations security officers from 11 different duty stations, 11 different countries. I just did a quick count before I came here. So of that more than 100, we're coming from 27 different nationalities, speaking many different languages. So we have people coming from duty stations in New York, Geneva, Vienna, Nairobi, Bangkok, Beirut, Addis Ababa, Santiago, Chile, The Hague, and Arusha. So we're bringing a team with a lot of experience, and then working inside with us here as part of our team, as part of the United Nations team, working with United Nations Security, our officers from national security, but they will be working as part of our teams under the UN Blue Uniform Security Officer guidelines and rules. So the Blue Zone will be in operation from Friday morning, from 8 o'clock on Friday morning. The 4th of November, we'll be operating as a United Nations premises. And for that, you will not enter the premises unless you have your badge. So what that means is on Thursday, the 3rd of November, at 5 p.m., this whole center, this whole venue will be cleared of everybody. We will lock down the perimeter, and then on Thursday evening, there will be a complete bomb sweep and security clearance of this premises. It's expected it will take more than 12 hours to complete this, with a lot of resources from the Egyptian security. And sometime in the morning, early morning, I will receive a certificate from Egyptian security, national security, to certify that this venue is clean. It's safe, there are no explosives, there are no weapons on the site. And then my job, after I receive that clean venue, is to ensure it stays clean until the end of the conference, when I will hand back a clean venue back to the government of Egypt. And how do we make it clean? It means every single morning, every single day, everybody coming to the premises will go through security screening. No exception. We have in the main registration area, they're setting it up today, we have 26 lanes of X-ray screening equipment, airport type security, and everybody every day will pass through that screening. All deliveries, any vehicle coming on the premises to deliver items, they will be searched and coming on safe. The only vehicles that will enter the premises, apart from delivery vehicles after checking, will be vehicles carrying heads of state, heads of government, under police escort. So really, you will be, for the next 2 weeks, in my opinion, working in the safest, most secure environment anywhere on the planet. Yeah.
I want to ask you, Kevin, I mean, how long does it take to prepare something as massive? I mean, does each successive COP teach you something from the one before, or is each one completely different?
Each one is completely different from a venue perspective. We run in United Nations, we run every September, we run the United Nations General Assembly. That's where all the leaders come to sit once per year in September. They come together, and it's a huge gathering, more than 100 heads of state, heads of government every year. But it's relatively easy to operate because it's the same venue. it's more than 70 General Assemblies they've run in New York. We're working with the same building, the same procedures, the same counterparts for a COP, which is actually larger than the General Assembly, and it's the biggest UN external conference every year anywhere in the world, this one. It's every year a new venue. You can see we're still somewhat in a construction site. You know, we've seen the plans, we know how it should finish up, but we don't actually know how it's actually going to lie because we don't even have the venue yet, yeah? So it's a big challenge every year. The security plan, it's a new venue every year with the COP, but you do learn a little bit more every year. You do pick up a little bit more every year, but every year it's with a different host country. It's with a different security team we work with. But I do have to say, we've been working with my Egyptian counterparts on the presidential security team, with the National Security Agency, with the civil defense here for more than 1 year now. And we have a fantastic relationship, and I'm very confident that everything will run smoothly.
And yes. I've only been here about 3 days, but I've seen you in action. You have one heck of a good team behind you.
We have, yeah. I'm here now for the past couple of days with my security supervisors, 12 of us, but we have about 100 coming in, arriving today, and they will start their first day of work tomorrow. So my security team, my 100 people, they haven't even seen this site yet, okay? So we have a whole, the supervisors that we've been ahead of them, we have a whole plan of orientation, training, assignments that we'll be getting through between now and Thursday, 5 p.m. when they clear this venue for the bomb sweep, so that 8 o'clock Friday morning, we'll be ready to receive you. And if you need instructions, if you need guidance, if you need advice, my officers will be there in their blue United Nations uniform, and they're ready to assist you. So if you are hesitant, if you have a question about any matter, and be patient with them, because you guys are here longer than they are, right? So be patient with them, but do ask, and or if you see anything that's out of place, please, or anything that you're not sure about, or anything that you think might be any way suspicious, approach a UN Blue security officer and ask him or tell him what your matter is.
Thank you. Now, I've got one more question. We talked about teams there. I happen to know Kevin is rather a big football fan. Am I right?
That would be right, yeah.
Uh-huh. Mo Salah?
What can I say, right? There's only one Mo Salah.
Here we go. We're going to start singing now. We can't do that. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed, Kevin O'Hanlon.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes. We're now going to see a COP27 video from the Ministry of Environment. We're seeing double, but not hearing double. I'll just chat until they've got some more underway. Remember, we're going to be throwing the floor open for questions later, so remember if there are any, but you're not allowed to ask any questions about sound on a COP27 video. That's the only thing you're not allowed to ask about. But we've heard so many different things coming today, you know, it's almost mind-boggling. So, do you think we're ready? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Yes? Good. Let's hope we can hear it again from the Ministry of Environment. Yes, of course.
I would like to say a few words about the cooperation between different line ministries regarding the process of the selection and the training of volunteers and local staff. And this is really important for us to all understand that this is not the efforts of a single entity or a government body. It is a collective effort between different government ministries, not only ministries, but also supporting bodies within the country. So we have civil society organizations, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, of course, because we are under the coordination of the presidency of the COP, as well as we have now all coming together. They are now coming to be one team here. So we are working all together in delivering the efforts. So the process of the selection, the recruitment, the capacity building, those are efforts to bring volunteers and local staff here into the COP27. But starting from the day we arrived and you receive your badges as local staff and volunteers in the COP27, you are part of the organizing committee of the COP27, and this is really important. The unity, the common goal, the purpose, we always say that to focus on the purpose that you are coming for. There's different teams of the organizing committee. There is different efforts coming from different ministries and different stakeholders. The importance of the process that we managed to tell them the message, being flexible, to be adaptable for different working conditions, to be resilient, and to, above all, to focus on your purpose. You are coming here to get this COP27 successful. And that's actually how we work it all together with different line ministries. I acknowledge different stakeholders, Dr. Reem, Mr. Tamer here with us. And actually, you all know Mr. Tamer, of course. He trained you all in the different setups. And of course, we understand all that the importance of being together now and celebrating this moment is an example for you to all work together in the upcoming two weeks, to make sure that we all come with the achievable results we want and to all celebrate together at the last day of the COP that we managed to succeed and we did it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed. And again, well, there are so many opportunities for you all to give yourselves a round of applause. Anyway, I hope now we can hear the COP27 Ministry of Environment video. Yes? No? No. So, Dr. Reem, maybe you can expand a little more. How has it been? You know, you say you've only been in the role, what, 3-4 months?
Yes.
You must have had to hit the ground running.
Yes, with the conclusion of the assessment phase, we started a whole new phase of training. So we had to base the training curriculum based on a lot of our discussions with the volunteers and the local support staff in the assessment. Our assessments and interviews were storytelling interviews. They were not the typical interviews that you would ask them about the information that they have written in their resumes. Or we were interested in the person behind what are your short-term goals, long-term goals, for you as a volunteer? How do you imagine your role? Because actually we were looking for specific competencies. We wanted to pinpoint those who are leaders, who can work together in a team, who can demonstrate empathy for delegates, for their co-workers, who can solve problems efficiently. So we were looking for specific type of personalities. Yeah. And then we started the whole journey of training. Those of you who could join our program, I hope you can still remember, we took sessions on volunteerism and the new role of being a volunteer, on leadership competencies and how do you envision leadership nowadays. Many of you mentioned that Mo Salah is one of your greatest leaders. I remember that very well. We took a lot of sessions on emotional intelligence and what does it mean to be aware of your own emotions, how to regulate them, and how to manage and feel empathy for other people. So this was a part on emotional intelligence. And we also took a good part on business communication, what it is to be, how do you present your image professionally. We took a lot on sexual harassment also, your business etiquette, business communication, and of course the technical part of Sustainable Development Goals and the climate change strategy of Egypt 2050. So it was a huge journey, actually. Yeah.
Can I ask you, how many people actually tried to get in?
Oh, that was very interesting. They used to log, you see, they will always notify of the sessions on a very short notice. So I had participants logging in from the gym, participants logging in while they were driving. But that showed me a lot of your strong perseverance. Yeah. You are committed, and I really appreciated that. They didn't want to miss up on our sessions.
And Dr. Ahmed, how many actual people applied to get in?
So we have 9,900 applicants who applied to be...
So, sorry, can I just say that again? So nearly 10,000 people
yes.
apply, and...
Yeah, from 80 countries, 80 countries. And they're coming from, starting from the age of 18, and we had until 60. So it's not an age constraint. They are coming from different backgrounds, from different nationalities I mentioned, and also they are coming from different professions. So we, I think we have the number that we have now 9,900, nearly 10,000, and now we have 1,000 volunteers. So it's a process of selecting the most suitable. I'm not going to say the best, but I'm going to say that the volunteers who are here are the most suitable volunteers to attend the COP27 in terms of matching the required functions, matching the capacity and capabilities of each volunteer, as well as making sure that they are fitting into the time, the commitment framework, etc.
Thank you, yes, and then you're going through all of how much of a team player they are, et al., et al., et al., yes. It must have been, I wouldn't envy you your jobs, either of you, definitely.
No, we do it with a lot of passion.
Well, that's very clear. Yes. We spoke on a Teams meeting a couple of weeks ago, and you could feel it even yes. online.
Yes.
Yes.
I used to look forward for these sessions.
So, are there any questions? There are bound to be. Oh, sorry. Please do.
So you spoke about the selection and the process of selection. So I would like to acknowledge the efforts of the team who actually worked on the selection, either from the volunteers management or from the local staff side. I think the process is, maybe we are here now sitting on the stage, but this is the effort, a collective effort of a team who actually worked restless for at least 3 months in the last 3 months. They actually paid a lot of their efforts, their self. They didn't take any weekends. They stayed for long, making sure that they communicate the message properly. So you know the team, and I'm sure that the upcoming few days is also going to be very difficult until we reach the process of engagement of all volunteers and their rules, etc. So I would like to acknowledge their efforts and work, and I'm sure that you feel how much they paid in the last few months, and I would like to give them an acknowledgement for their efforts.
So, are there any questions at this stage? Oh ho, right. Now, how do we go about getting this? Where will you be from? Use it, yes. Yeah.
Okay, now I think I'm.
So is this Oman? I think we're in Oman, are we?
Yeah, we're in Egypt. So my name is Bassem. I work for Vodafone as a SAFE program consultant.
Can you just move your mouth a little closer to the mic so that we can hear?
Okay.
You come up front. Why don't you come up front? Come on. You have your mic?
We can sit here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, why not?
Okay, so my name is Bassem. I'm a SAFE program consultant. I work for Vodafone. Tremendous experience. I'd like to thank Dr. Ahmed and the team from Egypt, Dr. Reem as well, for all the tremendous effort which I have witnessed. I see they put tremendous effort, tears and blood to get us to this stage. Very exciting. I'm equally thankful to you and the UN team. So my question here, in terms of energy, based on your experience, you've witnessed a variety of COP events in the past. So could you tell us about the vibe and energy levels that you experience here for a first impression? That's on one hand. The other question is the example you've given in terms of the volunteer in Glasgow, being a lover for Scotland and Ireland. I love that. So could you expand a little bit more on similar stories which could make a great volunteer experience for a visitor and equally for the volunteer? So that's my question. Thanks.
Oh, for me? Well, do you know, first of all, I would just say to you, Basim, that when I'm going back to the 2015 Climate Change Conference and obviously the Paris Agreement, and we were in the newsroom for days, you know, waiting for this. I was on shift for the whole of that time, waiting for the results. Now, the World Service is we're part of a outside of this room, actually, ridiculously, but it's got lots of different countries within it that are working in news, purely in news, and it's in a sort of lower ground level. You just get light that comes in from about 8 floors up. And I can remember back at that 2015, waiting for the results of that, and day after day after day, it was going on and on and on. And luckily, the night that it actually came to pass, that they'd actually passed the Paris Agreement, it was around, from our time, I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And we'd written things. We'd written, COP15 has closed without any, or COP15 has closed triumphantly. You know, it was going to go from one or the other. And suddenly, we were about 5 minutes before we were due to go on air, and suddenly there was just this whoop, and you could see all the news intake taking it in that the Paris Agreement had been agreed. And it was just, what a fantastic night that was. It was really something. It was difficult to broadcast. You know, you're reading your script and yet it's actually happened. Countries have come together. 2015, Paris Agreement. You know, that's and I'm afraid I didn't hear the first part of your question, so I'm really sorry, because I've blithered on about the media element.
Probably too early to tell in terms of the energy levels, in terms of the overall vibe. How do you see the energy in the room, the energy of the guys, the energy of the team? What's your...
Do you know this? When I first arrived, you could actually tell who the volunteers were. Some of them were sitting around, some of them were standing in groups, but there was animation, you know, they're all talking to each other. Yesterday, I took a wander up to the other end, just outside here, and I thought, I'm sorry, I keep bringing Mo Salah up as if he was the UN Secretary General. And I saw this statue, you know, the head back, and so I went over and asked, I just said, are you volunteers? And they went, yes, 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 yes. And I said, is this Mo Salah? He said, of course. So that was my first actual contact, but really very nice, always smiling, always dynamic. You know, really, I think Dr. Ahmed and Dr. Reem have made a fantastic job of their choice, I have to say. And I really hope you have a great time. And I hope that answers your question, from a Scottish perspective anyway.
It does absolutely answer my question, so thanks. The energy for me is very upbeat, brilliant. I'm very excited, so many thanks. Thanks, Fiona, for answering the question. I look forward to the upcoming events. Very excited. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
So actually you can use the microphone in front of you. Just press the button and then wait until it flashes red and then you can speak. So are there any further questions?
Any further questions?
Use the microphone.
It won't be quite so terrifying as what your predecessor. Ah, yes. Oh, yes. Are you going, you may speak. Have you got your mic there? You just press the button. You're Germany.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Mona Imad, the one who was in the video. I actually have one addition and one question. The addition is that also in the selection process, we had some kind of courses, preparatory courses on a platform to give everyone the chance to take the actual knowledge of leadership, of like how to communicate, how to do the conflicts and such, to resolve the conflicts. So that was a slight addition to how the selection process looked like. The question is, from all the COPs that you've attended, how did you see technology evolving, using the new technologies, new technique, and like the involvement of computers and information and the new techniques that we're using? How did you see that evolving between the COPs?
Well, I think we have to throw that to Dr. Reem.
Selecting the volunteers, starting with the process of the selection and application form that we depend on the online application, and also the communication with different stakeholders and partners to promote the application form to their volunteers or their members is part of what we see as an important inclusive technique, because it's all about inclusivity, and to make sure that we reach out for as much as more as we can of applicants and volunteers who have the ability to apply. And then also regarding the selection process, it's a very complicated process when you deal with large number of applicants and you would like to select the best fit for the purpose. Here comes technology as well. So data mining and data analysis to make sure that we select the best fit. The second is also to depend on the the online techniques of interviews to make sure that we cut short the time, because we have very limited time to do everything. So, so this is part of that. But I would like to refer of what Mona mentioned, that we depended also on online tools to ensure the capacity building. The capacity building of the volunteers. So there was an obligatory pathway of training for the volunteers that they had to attend to make sure that they are up to the expected assignment. So we had a partnership with one of the online platforms. It's called Almentor, and this platform gave all applicants an online 1 month free access to all their library, with dedicating only one track of 8 modules for volunteers to go through and to complete. And this technique, or this step, was really important for us. It's not only a win situation for the organizing and selection committee, but it's also a win situation for the volunteer. So along the way, when you select volunteers, you need to give them, not only take from them. So you need to give them the opportunity to build their capacity, to feel that they are gaining more knowledge, more information, more skills, while they go through the process of the selection. So it's not just filtering them. It's not a filtration process. It is a recruitment process that entails inside it a capacity building process.
That balance, yes.
I might add also to Dr. Ahmed's statement, I think the training program this year for the local support staff was very unique. We have received many comments from the UNFCCC on our training program, and it was designed to be a hands-on program. Let me give you an example. When we were discussing with one of the local support staff candidates online, one of them mentioned that she has participated in a UN conference before in Sharm el-Sheikh, and that she faced one case of a sexual harassment case. So we escalated this matter in order to be able to protect your own safety. We took it up to our ministry, and we had a training session specifically for you on how to deal with any harassment issues that you might face and how to take it further. So what I meant to say, that was a hands-on training program for you, based on your actual needs and based on tools that you will be able to put into action.
Thank you very much. Time to hand over to Ambassador Ashraf Ibrahim, the COP27 coordinator. Oof, that's one heck of a job.
Thank you, Fiona. So just I came to welcome all of you. I know that you had a long process to be chosen. You have a big role to play during the COP27 during the next 2 weeks. I think the success, you have a big part to play for the success of this COP. So I know that all of you, you were well chosen. I mean, in a process who took 6 months. 6 months, yeah? You had trainings, so you have a big role to play. You will be, the first thing that people will see, it will be you. So we all count on you. We have our role to play, and you have your role to play, which is a major role. So this is the message I wanted to say. I don't want to talk too much, but just I wanted to welcome all of you and encourage you to play your role. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I address His Excellency?
Yes, okay. Please do.
I just have a question for you. Are there any insights? This is me, Rima Abdelmajid. Hi. I just wanted to ask you a question, please. Do you have any insights on protocol that you can provide for the volunteers and the local support staff? Any comments on protocol I know.
I think we have the protocol department who are supposed to have a meeting with them. Maybe they can meet them. I'm not a protocol guy anyway.
Affairs. You are the owner of protocols everywhere in the world. For these participants and volunteers today, I just wanted to know if there are specific comments on protocol that they have to consider.
If, as I said, I am not a protocol guy, but anyway, we have, how can I say this? There is ways to deal with people. I mean, we are Egyptians. I know that we have our traditions and our way to deal with people, but when you deal with people coming from all over the world, I mean, it is different because you will find people with other traditions, with other way of thinking. So you have to respect the other, and always you have to put in your mind, you have to think as the other, as you are the one in front of you. First of all, you have to respect everybody. You have to deal with them in a decent way. You have to be patient with them because they are our guests. So this is one of the things. The second thing that, I mean, all of you, you know your role. Each one will be assigned with a role, and this role, I'm trained. Each one is trained for the roles that he will play. So, I mean, you have to follow what you get during the training. And this is all, I think. I mean, it's... the most important thing is that you respect the other and you understand that you are dealing with different people, with different traditions, with different minds. So you put yourself in the place of the other. Thank you.
So this is empathy, guys. When you put yourself in the other person's shoes, this is empathy. And respect, hospitality, decency. So please just remember those words. Thank you, Mr. Ash.
Yes, because that's something that you see, the sheer number of different cultures that are thronging around. You know, it's very, very easy, isn't it, to forget our differences, or to forget about dealing with a different culture altogether, you know, because sometimes you might think, oh, you barged me, but then I didn't mean to, you know, it's okay, you know, and it's that. That's what I found very interesting, just walking about, just...
And actually, this begins with the selection process. You have to pinpoint those who are diversity tolerant. And then you base your trainings on this part. And we had a lot of discussions on this issue of diversity, and we brought even someone from the visually impaired international consultants. He's an Egyptian guy based in London, to address the participants and how to deal with people with disability in the conference.
Yes, and different beliefs as well. You know, the whole thing comes to the fore, doesn't it?
Yes, and I remember I was online with Mr. Ashraf. He had a nice discussion with all the international NGOs, and they raised several issues on diversity and respect for human rights, and they wanted to know that Egypt is safe in this area. And of course, he verified that we're a safe place.
Well, Dr. Ashram Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
I just want to confirm something, that respect the others, be patient with them, and you have to help them. And that's the message you have always to have in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, apparently now we can actually hear the Ministry of Environment's COP27 video. We're hoping.
We applied psychometric assessments and personality profiling for screening applicants, and we measured their stress resilience and acceptance for diversity. To unleash the potential of the training curriculum was developed based on three pillars. One for volunteerism and business communication, as well as technical trainings on climate change and sustainable development goals, and linking it to Egypt's climate change strategy for 2050 and the sustainable development strategy of 2030. I am honored to have been a part of the amazing global support staff journey to COP27. Mr. HR.
Hello everybody, I'm Tamer Brahim. I work in the Ministry of Environment, COP27 unit, as a lead of global support staff and volunteer work stream, along with my dear colleagues from ministers, foreign affairs, and social security. We agreed the support of UNFCCC and UNV. Really, it was a great work together as one team. We selected the best of the best to join our local support staff and volunteers. We have trained them and prepared them to ensure the delivery of an exceptional, successful COP27. I wish them the best of luck during their mission. Thank you and good luck.
Hello everyone, this is Umayya Hedi, Senior Adaptation Officer at COP27 unit. I had the honor to give lectures to the local support staff, to the UNFCCC Secretariat, in order to prepare for the COP27 and their role in the COP27. I have introduced the science behind the climate change and what are the main impacts globally and how the whole world cooperated to face this issue. I also talked about the efforts Egypt is doing in order to mitigate and adapt to climate change, as well as the preparations for the COP27 in the technical side and negotiation side. Wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anna. We have attended more about ourselves. We've got to learn more about leadership skills and about meeting new people and dealing with new people. And of course, on the other hand, we've got to learn a great deal about the environment and about the effects of this on Egypt and the rest of the world. And of course, the most important thing is for them to be aware of how much they produce in terms of their carbon footprint and to find a solution to decrease it. And that's why we're here, to learn more about this and to make people aware. Thank you.
To participate in the capacity building program of the organizing team of COP27, I discussed with them the sustainability issues and its relation with climate change, the effort made by the government of Egypt to achieve sustainable development, and our journey for the transition of Sharm el-Sheikh to a green city. We went through the sustainability measures of it, the COP27, and how they can encourage the participants to use the available facilities to reduce the carbon footprint of COP27 through their transportation way, the livelihood, etc. I was impressed by the passion of the organizing team for participation, not only during the COP, but beyond, but also beyond, in order to protect their future and face the climate change challenges.
The climate crisis, climate change, it's quite literally the biggest hurdle we're facing worldwide right now, and we're at COP27 today to tackle and talk about all the heavy subjects and take the first strides of action. Being a participant at the COP is no easy task, but with the immense support and trainings we took alongside the team, especially with Dr. Reed, they've truly pushed our boundaries to become the best fit for the upcoming weeks.
The assessment and the overall experience with the trainings truly made us understand the ins and outs of everything. Not only, but also up the morale, excited and involved. For that, we're really
Thank you. Well, now we've arrived really at the last section of today's programme. I was wondering if I could call on Ms. Chaya Kapalaswamy, the Senior Director of Operations Cluster at the UNFCCC.
Good morning, everybody. I think it's good afternoon, actually, to local staff, volunteers, and I feel like my friends, since I think this is the second time I'm speaking to you. I'm really delighted to join you today for this. A lot of who understand climate change, who understand some of the issues. And so I'm here really just to welcome you and motivate you for this very important job that you have. As you know, the pandemic and the related disruptions have had a profound effect on all of us. The way we work, the way we travel, the way we interact with each other. And it's really wonderful that we're having a chance to get together in this forum today. I'm really happy to see so many smiling faces. It's fantastic. And your smiles, your positive energy will give inspiration to all of us during the very tough weeks that we face, the next 2-3 weeks, as we go into difficult negotiations, as we go into really discussing the issues that impact all of humanity. One of the reasons that COP is so special is because we bring people together. We convene people. We convene world leaders, government, negotiators, civil society, the youth. We convene private sector. We convene everybody to have the conversation around climate change. I have been really privileged to work with the Government of Egypt team, who have been working for, I think, 9-10 months now on this very difficult task of hosting thousands of people here in Sharm el-Sheikh. And I really want to commend the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so many ministries that have been working in the background to make COP27 a successful conference. With our Egyptian partners, we've gone to great lengths to look for effective, efficient, and a responsible way to hold COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh and bring participants together, no matter what their points of view are. One of the foundations of the UN is inclusivity. Table. And again, I would like to recognize the government of Egypt for making this effort on the local staff and the youth. Some of you come from all over the world, have come from Egypt to make this successful, and it's a real tribute to you and the country of Egypt. Maybe just one last thing. I think Ambassador Ashraf touched on this. It's about harmony and making sure that we continue in a harmonious way. There are many, many events planned during the next 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. They are planned in the blue zone, in the green zone, in the global climate action space, in some of the actions that civil society will be taking. And you will have to agree with me that the venue looks fantastic. Even though I know that there is construction happening as you are walking, but it looks beautiful. And one of the things that you will need to do is to make sure that all participants feel welcome, feel included, and feel that they have somebody to turn to for their questions. I realize that not all of you are working inside the blue zone. Some of you will be working in the green zone. Some of you will be working in the city, helping participants find their way in Sharm el-Sheikh. But no matter where you are, I hope that the boot camp has provided you lots of good information to understand the COP, the process, the venue, and how we will work to bring everybody together. We all have a role to play in making everybody feel included and welcome and making COP27 a success. And I look forward to meeting all of you. I've met some of you, but I hope that during the course of the next 2.5 weeks, I will get to meet all of you, as you are the future, the next generation that is going to take this conversation forward. Hopefully by the time you're in leadership positions, climate change will be a thing of the past. We will have a solution. So welcome, and thanks to all of you for the time you're taking to service the conference.
Can I ask you, Ms. Kaplan, we spoke last year, didn't we? Yeah, and what do you see now in that last 12 months as being the most important thing for this COP27 compared to COP26? Is that a horrible question?
It's a hard question, but I think I can answer it. I think one of the challenges we have, if you've had a chance to hear all 26, and then we have COP28, which is really going to focus on the global stock take. So many people say, well, what is COP27? It's sort of sandwiched in between COP26 and COP28. I think the challenge for us here in COP27 is to prove to the world that we can come out with real outcomes, such as what does implementation mean? What do the developing countries need? How can we work together so that everybody is in a win-win situation? So for me, I think the challenge of COP27, and if I look at 12 months ago, is a real definition that COP27 is not just a sandwich COP. It is a meaningful COP that will come out with real outcomes. And maybe, because I'm from operations, I think when I worked with Ambassador Ashraf and we first had a vision for what the venue would look like, let me just say, this is so much more than what I had originally thought the venue would look like. It's absolutely fantastic. I hope that answers your question.
It's true. I mean, when I found, I've only been here about 3 or 4 days, and each morning I'm thinking, hang on a second, I'm sure that wasn't there yesterday, or that wasn't there. And there's buildings going up faster than I've ever seen them go up in my life. And I'm married to an architect. He could certainly learn from this, I think. No, it's quite remarkable, and the sheer size of the place. I don't know, I mean, how did you, Dr. Ahmed, did you find it difficult to get everybody sort of round the table as far as finding their way? I mean, do you have nice maps? I wish I had a nice map.
I'm sure that the process of orientation and making sure that they are comfortable and settled is important for them to be productive and to engage. And we are doing that since the deployment in 25th of October. That's why we came earlier, to make sure that they are settled and they are comfortable, they unpack. So it is really important for them. Also, the orientation is starting gradually. We are not deploying everyone at one stage. So we are making stages to make sure that the deployment does not affect or make a pressure on the current operations until the beginning of the COP official activities. So for what we would like to make sure that the local staff are well oriented, so they can support delegates when they arrive, and they are well informed. And we welcome all support from your side as well. It's really important for us to work all together. This is a common mission, and I'm sure that we all are going to be coordinating, collaborating, and making sure that frontliners are the most important ones. So we are in the back lines. We are not in a hierarchy. We are behind them. They are in front of us. So they are the most important ones. So we believe in their abilities and capacity to be the beautiful front face of all what we do. So it's our duty to support them.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Chaya. Appreciated your time. Thank you. And now, the United Nations Development Programme resident representative for Egypt is Mr. Alessandro Fracassetti. Yes, Mr. Fracassetti has been in this position. He's been in for about and he's going to tell us how important the role of the volunteer is and why it matters so much.
Just colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you very well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, all the present participants there, and of course our COP27 volunteers. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today, even though not physically, but I'm hoping that it was as interesting as it seemed, at least by looking at the very interesting people you had in your program. And I will follow only part of the final discussion, so forgive me if I'm not going to acknowledge and be able to acknowledge all the issues that were already discussed. So you've asked me to talk a little bit about the volunteers and their importance. So just to say that, you know, there are approximately 1 million volunteers who offer their skills, time and enthusiasm across the world on every given day. And they do all sorts of things, from tackling climate change to fighting against COVID-19 to assisting the most vulnerable groups. Volunteers have been tirelessly helping their communities to build better future. And there are also millions of people, just like yourselves, who are volunteering their time and energy for the much-needed climate action. And we at the UN Development Programme has been working closely with our colleagues in the UN volunteers to support, promote and recognize volunteering efforts everywhere in the world, because we believe that the more people get involved in solving these common challenges and the more sustainable our solutions will be. And that is why when the government of Egypt has asked us to support COP27 volunteers, we wholeheartedly joined. And I would like to use this opportunity actually to thank the government of Egypt, the presidency of COP, the European Union, governments of Denmark and Switzerland for sharing this vision and partnering with us to bring this to life. And the UN Secretary General recently stated that volunteerism is a two-way street. And as volunteers improve the lives of others, their own lives are often transformed by the act of volunteering itself. During this next generation of volunteers. So, on behalf of the UN Development Programme of COP27, thank you all for playing an active part in shaping a more sustainable future, and I really look forward to meeting you in person during COP27. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I had been going to ask him a couple of questions, but I think given the line, it's probably not a good idea. Well, we're now going to hear the experiences, and I think this could be quite, well, it'll be very inspirational. The experiences from volunteers and local support staff that have been at past COPs. Now, I'm not sure who we have up yet, but I'm going to hope and keep my fingers crossed that Mr. Oscar Malaga, he's now a country coordinator in Peru. He was in transit into Lima earlier, and I'm not sure if he arrived yet or not. Would that be possible to hear him? Say again? They're all online, yes. Now. Good, well, let's hope that his connection is a little bit better.
Sabah Khair. Hello, UNF Democracy staff, Dr. Ahmed Zadeh, MOS team, UNV team, Mr. Tamer, entire volunteers and local support staff at COP27. I was very fortunate to have met some of you in Alexandria a few weeks ago during the boot camp along with the Life Makers team. And I know others were also trained after my departure. To all of you and the local support staff, my most sincere congratulations for having reached to the final stage. I know it was tough, but you have made it. You have completed all the stages intended to demonstrate your skills and knowledge and to make this COP a most memorable one for Egypt and the world. Each one of you is essential to demonstrate that stopping climate change depends not only on our high authorities, on our governments, but also depends on us. This is a moment in which we get all together, we make ourselves visible as citizens, and also demonstrate here that all of us can and will save the planet. Keep in mind that your participation does not end on November 18th, but this is just the beginning to join the fight against climate change. I remember being a volunteer in 2014 at a COP20, which was held in Lima, and from there I committed myself to the planet. I remember a lot that I taught my mom how to recycle, to select organic and plastic at home, to even wash the plastic before disposing of it. It has been 8 years since then, and every time I go to her house, she keeps doing it. Imagine what everyone can do to add more people to save our planet. Enjoy this COP very much. It will be a couple of tough weeks, but I know and I'm sure you will handle it with your great capacity and teamwork. And of course, I am certainly sure you will manage to inspire many more others. Now, it is a time for you to shine.
Very inspiring piece of talk there from Mr. Oscar Malaga. If anything is going to take you further, that will. And we want to join another woman now. We'll hear a video of her, and she's from Cameroon, and her name is, I'll try and get it right, Ms. Zoneziwo Mdongduglo Wondie. So let's hope.
Today and to be part of this amazing journey for climate justice. I want to say that every day people volunteer, and every day we volunteer, be it at work, be it in a community, be it at home. Every day we volunteer because we know that volunteerism is an act of service. It is passion, and it is willing to give back. We volunteer for our planet, and today we are all assembled here to volunteer for COP27, the COP of implementation. And when is that implementation? Now. As a volunteer for the COP23 in Bonn, there are three things that stood out for me, and up to date, I still hold on to those memories. The first was the fact that this was an intergenerational space where we had sure, the third thing and today, when I reflect back on my experience, I feel so proud. And I know you too, you feel proud for being part of this collective movement calling for climate justice. Also, I want to also say that today as we assemble here, when I look at my experience and my journey, I feel really inspired by the works that I have seen people carried out in terms of advancing collective actions for change. And I believe that as a community of change makers, the journey does not only end here today, but it is going to be a collective and continuous journey because our planet all needs volunteers like you and I. Let us continue to preserve our planet because there is no amount of money that can save this planet if we as individuals don't commit and volunteer to contribute in the little way that we can to see that we limit our pollution rates, we limit our exploitative rate, and we limit how we destroy our planet. I hope that I will continue to see you all and that together we can make COP27 the COP of implementation. Thank you very much.
Very inspiring stuff there from both these past COP volunteers, really. And I noticed that the women, well, Dr. Reem, myself quietly, and Zonaziwe, we all used the word passion, and that's quite an interesting one. It keeps cropping up, that word passion. And you'll also hear, I mean, to be honest, if COP27 has got all the things that you have all heard today, we're hearing so much agreement of these small steps, of this inspiration, taking it out into the community. That's almost it for now, and I truly hope that today has left you feeling ready to face it, inspired and motivated. And you are privileged to be here among world experts, to hear what they've got to say, among the women and men who shape our approach to how we deal with this climate emergency. And that means you are then in that very strong position that Dr. Reem, Dr. Ahmed, Mr. Steele, etc., have all said, take it out there, take what you've learned, share it with others, because that's when we start to make a difference. That's when things change, when we're all in it together, encouraging others to take those ideas forward, to adapt and strengthen, and most importantly, quickly. I'd like to thank in particular Dr. Reem and Dr. Ahmed for their valuable insights today. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Fiona.
I too will take them away with me. But now I'll leave the last word, appropriately, to the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who has recorded this for you. Thank you all, and good luck.
Dear friends, I'm pleased to greet and thank you as you start your training. Your work in the coming weeks is central to our collective effort to make COP27 a success. We need COP27 to make meaningful, concrete progress in the face of the worsening climate crisis. Climate disasters are already hurting countries, communities, and economies. We need to dramatically cut greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030. We must double funding for adaptation and see real progress on loss and damage. COP27 must be when climate action becomes the global priority that we need it to be. A time for unity against the common existential threat. By making everything run smoothly at COP27, you are ensuring delegates have the best possible chance to deliver what is needed. And I hope you come away from this experience enriched and with added motivation to take climate action in your own countries and communities. You are part of history and should be immensely proud of your hard work and commitment. So today, I thank you sincerely for your time and hard work. Together, we can and will rise to the climate challenge.
Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You were superb. Really.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Excuse me, all volunteers and local staff, for the registration for your badges, it will start at 2 p.m. at the registration area, gate 17, right? Gate 17. So at 2 p.m., 2 p.m. ممكن okay خلاص. We can start to organize ourselves into waves, into groups, to go there. So we are going to use our buses. So the buses that we came with this morning is going to take us to the registration area to do our registration and receive our badges. So all together, we can go together in waves. So get inside your buses, and then we are going to move the buses into waves to get the registration and finish, etc. Thank you so much.